Good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening, and welcome to Pit Road Productions, or indeed, if you're watching us follow Almeida's channel, a huge warm welcome to you there. And we are here live today for the Almeida Racing League, or indeed the Almeida Racing Academy, sponsored by Podium. We're on to round 4, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, round 2, ladies and gentlemen. Season 4, round 2. There you go. Simple task, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we're starting off to a very good day, but we're going to be here in the Formula 3 out. Honestly, one of my favourite tracks. It's known to be the venue for the Belgian Grand Prix and indeed for the Spa 24 Hour, which is going to be getting underway on the iRacing platform very, very shortly indeed. I think that's in about a week or two. Certainly Reese might know. If not, Rob will certainly know on that one. But it's definitely going to be a very fun race indeed. Honestly, Reese, this is one of those events where I honestly feel we should try to get Kyle or Morgan back in the booth. Let me loose on track. But tell us a little bit about how you feel about this Formula 3 here at Spa.
I'm feeling a little thin right now, but I am feeling great about Spa, honestly. It's one of the most iconic racetracks in the world, and for very good reason. It's an iconic layout that has seen many changes over the years, but its key corners, the big challenge, is still right there. It's had Grand Prix history, sports car history, but open wheelers around here are always a big show. Of course, we're racing the Dallara Formula 3 in this season of the Almeida Racing League, so I'm looking forward to some high-stakes action with these wings and slicks machines.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's going to be. It's not just going to be a circuit where you can just go with outright pace. You're going to have to play it tactically. Indeed, like you see, sometimes people try and go too wide through Rouge, and they just get passed straight away as they head down that straight onto the right hander. But I think what we probably should do as well, this being the endurance round, it's going to be a little bit of a different mix-up here today. So let's take a quick look at that race format here before we head over to the schedule. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Race format. They've had 60 minutes to qualify. Qualification is going to be a 15-minute quali. I tell you what, actually, let's go to the schedule. Let's go to the schedule first a second here. There you go. We started at Montreal. We're here at Spa-Francorchamps for round 2, and then round 3 takes us over to Sebring. Certainly, I know Rob is a mixed vibes there on that track. Round 4 for Fuji, with round 5 taking us to Algarve. Round 6, the Dutch Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen, of Zandvoort, with round 7. Honestly, I think that's going to be a really, really potent race indeed for the finale of round 7 on August the 9th, 2025.
Indeed, Road America, fantastic circuit the season off on, and we've got quite a bit of action ahead of us here with 15 minutes of open qualifying. The drivers are presently in. They're going to move to 2 15-minute races, I believe 1:15 before a final race of the night of 40-minute in length. So there's an awful lot of racing yet to come around here, and an absolute bumper grid. We have 26 drivers in the session at the moment, all looking for that crucial victory here. If they've had a bad round 1, this is their chance to try and set things right.
Yeah, certainly it is indeed, and apologise for a little bit of confusion here. It's not often that we have the race format switch during the middle of the season. I'm worried for a couple of 2 rounds, but I gotta say I quite like the fact that we're doing that. It adds a little bit of fun, a little bit of spice, and certainly a newer test here for some of these drivers. As we're watching Vijay Rajasakaran making a couple of laps around there, it's nice to see he's there in the right paint. But let's take a quick peek. Actually, I was just thinking of him right now. I was wondering where the Leon Bentbelsen cheerleading squad is, and ladies and gentlemen, they have indeed just made an arrival. Orum's here in the chat. Hesper is there in the chat as well. Actually, it tells me that you're number 2 top fan there, Hesper. So I'm not sure exactly how the top fans thing works, but thank you for being that person. We'll certainly take that action now. And again, a huge warm welcome to everyone in the chat. We've got Shockwave, we've got Blizzard, we've got Sussball, we've got Canadian Cutting Edge. I believe that's Clovis Gerard, if I remember rightly. We've got all sorts of people making an appearance here. By all means, we will talk to you during the chat. Well, I say I will talk to you during the chat where I can, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly good to see you here. As we are riding on board with the 26 car, the Netherlands driver here of Leon Bentbelsen.
Yeah, Leon yet to set a time, as is the case with pretty much everyone, except for Branton Hung, Mahid Rahman and Simon Collier, who put in the first laps of the session. Marco Chacon goes 3rd fastest. Jeremy Childers for 4th. He's immediately beat by Martin Visser. That was a bit of a motor mouth moment as the times start coming in here. Mikhail Prechuk up to 5th place. Jan Janchik making a return for this season. 6th place for him on the first lap. Now, laps in practice, they ran at their very fastest, a 2:11.4 from Anthony Lanassa. So looks like they're already beating that here in qualifying.
Yeah, certainly, and it looks like we've got a couple of strategies going on, and certainly Spa is known to be a little bit of a drafty track at times. Certainly, you know, you need to get a good toe, and that's exactly what these two Team Black drivers are doing. You see Anthony Lanassa, and I believe that is maybe Mahid Rahman up there ahead of him. But good, oh, Joel Singleton, ladies and gentlemen, Joel Singleton, the American driver, might got to slow down for that, but it's not going to matter. He's going to keep his foot in it and try and provide as much of a toe as he can for his teammate. And yep, there you go. There goes Anthony Lanassa. His teammate Joel Singleton is going to get up and out of the way as these guys are going to try and slingshot each other further up the podium. Certainly, Anthony Lanassa currently sat there in P2. He's less than a tenth of a second behind teammate Mahid Rahman. And we're seeing already two Team Blacks, two Team Greens. I do wonder how the team aspect is going to have such an influence here at Spa, with the draft being such a deciding factor on position.
Yeah, absolutely. Long straights around this circuit. There's the Kemmel straight, obviously, at the start of the lap, and then there's this flat-out section that Branson Hung is traversing at the moment, where the circuit rejoins its original public road layout. It's pretty much flat out the whole way through in these things, but Blanchimont, this corner right here, is one of the more difficult ones on the circuit. You've got to make sure to keep the rear end in control, otherwise you're going to go spinning across the curb and across the runoff area. But if you get it right and you're in the slipstream, it'll set you up for a great move into that final chicane to end the lap.
Yeah, certainly. I know I've never gone around out of Blanchimont. Definitely not. Only the last race I did it, and I can hear Rob sniggering in the background there. It's fair to say I pooched it that day, ladies and gentlemen. The Lamborghini GT3 was maybe not as planted as I hoped for, as we saw very briefly there. A driver at a uniform, ladies and gentlemen, the number 14 car of Thomas Nieminen. Certainly these drivers are indeed required to wear the Almeida Racing Academy paint, so I'm not quite sure what the penalty is, but definitely a little bit of a moment there for Nieminen.
Yes, potentially. Gotta get that sorted out. Oh, keep an eye on drivers looking to make improvements here on their second laps. Cairo Ends trying to make his way further up the order. He's had great pace in pretty much every race of the Almeida Racing League seen him in, but luck hasn't always fallen his way. See how this lap turns out for him. Clattering over the curbs at the final chicane, managed the oversteer on the exit. Haggerty improves, goes to 6th, and Cairo Ends will not improve on that lap, misses out by a couple of tenths. Current a 2:11, high 2:11. Vijay Rajasekharan, meanwhile, straight to the top, 2:11.339. Always been a quick one, hasn't he?
Oh, 100%. I do actually remember his first race, so I believe it was Alton Park, where it was, you could say it was failure to launch, ladies and gentlemen, certainly having like a little bit of a technical issue there and was not able to get away from the grid. Absolute chaos, panic and disorder. From a race point of view, it would have sucked, but from a broadcast point of view, oh, it was hilarious entertainment for us here in the booth. But certainly a very, very potent driver, definitely not afraid to get the elbows out for sure. Reminds me a little bit actually of Assad Nakadenbev in terms of like the aggression there, from like how keen they are to make a pass. I see a wicked bit of a slide there from Rajasekharan, obviously pushing the limits of that car, but we can indeed see that the qualifying is indeed starting to shake up. No real team able to put two hands on the trophy right now. Quite a little bit of a mix there, but I do wonder, the coaches, they are definitely not qualifying at the minute. Speaking of the coaches, let's have a look to see who is going to be joining us on the grid today. Looks like we've got Kane Halliburton in there as well as Brian Lockwood, ladies and gentlemen. And Brian Lockwood is he in the gold paint? That looks more like a Team Red paint there, Reese.
Yeah, it is a red paint, so we could see a bit of a change there, as there's a big change up the top. Declan Marsden in the number 1 car has just gone P1, 2:11.0. The pace is falling.
Well, what I am going to say, Reese, look who is right next to them. That's obviously one of his teammates there. This is exactly what I was saying about using your teammates. I say, that sounds so cold when you put it like that. Working together. Oh, bonk. That's one way of doing it. Working together with your teammates. And Sammy Hendricks, yeah, if anybody is going to be there for you, be your wingman, it is indeed going to be the 27, the Tenuta Delta Simtech driver, the number 18. sorry, the P18, the number 27 car here of Sammy Hendricks, and it looks like it's now the favourite is indeed going to be returned. Declan Marson now is going to lead Hendricks around for a lap, see if he can try and pull his teammate up further through the order. They've got about 5 minutes left to qualifying. Let's keep an eye on Hendricks as well. Currently, he's about a second off the pace. Well, I'll say that. Look at how close it is through those times there, Reese.
Yeah, certainly is. I mean, the entire field is covered by about 3.5 seconds over 24 cars that have set times thus far. The top 10 only separated by 0.7 of a second. I mean, obviously Marsden's lap time is massive. It's 0.3 of a gap that he has over second place. But Rajasekaran, Mahid Rahman, and Branson Hung, they are only separated by about 0.03 of a second, maybe a little bit less. So you get further down the order, you start looking at these times, they are super close. Garrett Lund and Mikhail Pretchup, last 2 positions in the top 10, they're only 1,000th of a second apart.
See, this is exactly what I like to see, Reese. Good, hard, close competition. And this is one of the things as well, where this is a fixed setup series as well, ladies and gentlemen. So it really is, it is the car versus the car. It is the driver versus indeed the track, or indeed versus the opponents around. There's no setups that you can do. There's no tweaks. There's no, you can practice as much as you like making adjustments, but it isn't an option that's available to everybody here. And I think that honestly, having the fixed setup really is a little bit of a great equalizer here. But I have just had a thought pop into my head there. As we see Sammy Hendricks, he's going to bring it across the line. He was in P18. Has he been able to improve, ladies and gentlemen? I'm certainly looking forward to see that toe there from Declan Marson. No improvement. I do wonder if his last lap did indeed count as well. I don't see it posting up. Maybe got an off track in there, which would indeed invalidate it. As we see Martin Visser getting very slidey. We're starting to see that a little bit here so far at Spa Race. Seeing the back end of these cars slide around quite a bit. I do have to wonder, are we maybe going to see the limits of grip be reached and then indeed exceeded here in Belgium?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. Limits have been ridden very nicely for Leon Bentvelsen, who just went up to 6th place in qualifying. Great job from him. But yeah, these F3s, they do tend to rotate on the front quite a bit already. And there's a lot of long flowing corners around this circuit. They're also set up quite stiff, these lower level open wheelers. You'll notice here on board with Kevin Adrian, through Lacombe and Malmedy, you'll see him tip the steering on, but then sort of use the throttle to steer the car a little bit as well. The fastest drivers will use the curb on the entry to Malmedy to sort of swing the car around a little bit, get themselves on a rotated trajectory out of the corner. There is a lot of sliding going on, but I think it's by design. That's just how you got to drive these.
Certainly makes me think actually for Fernando Alonso back in his Renault days. If you watch some clips from there, I believe he was he used to be a little bit of a racing driver there. I'm sure his last name's Mansell, and it wasn't Nigel Mansell. But I think you know the guy I'm thinking of. We're not going to bring him up anyway because he's kind of the competition, ladies and gentlemen. But in terms of the content he made, I think I remember him doing a video of Fernando Alonso's driving style back when he was in the Renault, and he would literally just throw the car in hot and use the understeer. And then you just see the front catch and all of a sudden pull the car around. I almost wonder if it's a little bit like this here in the Formula 3s, as we're now on board with Vijay Rajasekaran, who is indeed, he's in P2. He's got a good time there, but he's almost 0.3 of a second behind his teammate Declan Marson, which honestly, I feel that Marson owes a great lot of help, great lot of support there to Sammy Hendricks in the 27 car, who's currently back there in P19. As I say that, P18, he's just moved up a spot.
Did make a slight improvement, did Sammy Hendricks. Fernando Afonso, meanwhile, up to 17th, finally getting a competitive lap time on the board. Anthony Lanassa, who topped practice, coming round to begin another lap. P5 for him so far. He's able to get within a 10th, fastest time. It'll abandon that one already. Too much oversteer out of the La Source hairpin. These cars, especially, where you're flat out all the way from La Source to Lacombe, you got to make sure you get the exit of the hairpin right. It can define practically half of your lap.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. And the Formula 3s as well, they're honestly not the most powerful cars. I believe they're around 200, 250 horsepower. I have to double check on that one. But, you know, if you think about a Formula 1 car that's rocking like 800, 1,000 horsepower, it's absolutely insanely different here. But honestly, it almost feels like you don't really need it. The sheer amounts of grip here to push it to the limit. Like you almost, I find when you're driving a car of this kind of caliper, like it's it's almost hard to like get a grip of the realism, certainly for the majority of drivers. I mean, we're used to driving, street cars and stuff like that. Some of us driving, a race car, but it is a car that's been modified to be a race car. It's not necessarily been built there from the outright, and it can be actually kind of intimidating here, the levels of grip offered. But that does indeed bring qualifying to a end.
It certainly does, and it's time for the grid. Declan Marsden on pole position for the first race of the night. Vijay Rajasekaran going to join him on the front row. Mahid Rahman is going to start third alongside Branson Hung, with Anthony Lanassa and Cairo ends on row 3. Leon Bentbelsen in P7 with Marco Chacon joining him on the 4th row. Jan Janchik and Sean Haggerty round out your 10.
As we have a look at P11, Garrett Lund is going to be there alongside Michael Pretrick, the Polish driver. Looking at P13, Martin Visser alongside Thomas Niemann, and Amin Alashari, he takes 15th with Mateus Kuhn in 16th. Fernando Afonso, good to see him back. He's there in 17th with Andrew Calabresi in 18th. Sammy Hendricks, the team player so far we've seen, in 19th with Jeremy Childers there in 20th.
21st, Juan San Miguel. Got Kevin Adrian for company on row 11. Then Simon Collier and Joel Singleton, round out the top 24. Then we've got the two coaches together on the final 13th row of the grid, Kane Halliburton and Brian Lockwood. Let's see what they can do to find their way up through the field. For now, wait for the rest of them to file their way onto the grid. A standing start in the Formula 3 cars, and it's not the longest run to turn 1 at this circuit, so you've got to make sure that you nail that start.
And actually, come to think of the coaches as well, I believe Connor Bell is actually going to be there in Ottawa in the Bywood market with his NASCAR Canada car. So if you want to actually go and see one of the coaches, by all means head on down there. He'd love to see you. That's Connor Bell there in the Bywood market there in Ottawa, ladies and gentlemen. I used to live in Ottawa, and honestly, I kind of wish I still do at times. It would be great to hang out with Connor Bell. But ladies and gentlemen, the lights are indeed up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reds. We're going for the green, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. And you see a very, very eclectic mix of starts there. A couple of people able to get a really good leap there. As you see, Declan Marsden is going to be defending there into the first corner. Vijay Rajasekaran trying to make a move on the outside. Now, this is going to be absolutely crucial. These drivers need to get very quickly into single file if you're going to fight. And oh no, chaos, panic. There's already been an incident here. It looks like Andrew Calabresi, 3 of the Team Green cars, and it looks like one of the Team Red, Jean-Swan Miguel, getting caught up in the action as well. That's 3 cars wounded, and as already they made their first time through Eau Rouge.
Yep, Sammy Hendricks got into Amin Alashahi, and that caused a bit of a pile-up at turn 1. We'll get a replay of that when we can. But for now, Declan Marsden under attack, and Vijay Rajasekaran moves into the lead through Lacombe. The Team Black car of Mahid Rahman right on the back. Contact, Cairo ends, sent off there. Looks like that was potentially an echo contact with Branson Hung.
Well, already the casualties are flying in as Kane Halliburton is absolutely flying up through the field. Gained 12 positions so far. Unlucky there for Cairo, and certainly got a little bit of support here in the chat. There is indeed going to be a second race, but right now Mahid Rahman, he's currently in P3. He has 2 Team Blues ahead of him. Declan Marsden's going to be first on the chopping block. Can he capitalize on that? Can he try and pull himself away from Brandon Young, who's right behind him in P4?
And it's going to be an interesting or a bit of a chaotic start to the one. Had many drivers have problems here. We've already lost Juan San Miguel, Fernando Afonso, and one of our coaches, Brian Lockwood. They've all gotten involved somehow. So there's some issues to be had there. For now, though, our eyes peeled on the front of the field. Looks like a bit of a run starting to form here. Big trip through the gravel from Branson Hung, and he's going to pull down the order.
Yeah, a little bit of an unsafe rejoin there as well, having a little bit of contact with his teammate as he's trying to get that car going again. And yep, there's damage there in the right front corner. He needs to get that car up and out of the way, and that's exactly what he's done. Pulled off of the racing line. It's still going to be a little bit snug there as you see Thomas Niemann guiding through there in his, I guess, Playmobil colored paint there. As Anthony Lanassa now currently riding in P4, trying to hold behind him the numbers 11 car of Marco Chacon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do apologize for the microphone issues. I've brought my
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have indeed just lost Reese Gardner. Again, he's going to give us a little bit of a heads up in our little chat there when indeed his mic has returned. But right now, we've got Anthony Nanassa currently resting in P4. You see all sorts of changes happening through. Kane Halliburton currently up 14 spots. If you ignore the coaches, ladies and gentlemen, the number 7 car right behind him, that's Jeremy Childers. He's up 7 spots. As you see, a move happening here. It is indeed going to be a battle between Mahid Rahman and Declan Marsden. The Marsdens are able to hold on, but for how long as they're making their way down? It looks like Mahid Rahman's going to try and place that car up on the inside. He's been keen, he's been assertive, and he's been able to get the move done. Moves his way up into 2nd place. Absolutely fantastic passing here, and you can see there Vijay Ratasakaran has pulled away a 2-second gap. This is exactly what he's going to want to do. Declan Marsden looking to fight back as they're heading through this right hairpin now, and this next left-hander I've always honestly found quite difficult. Very, very tough to try and get the car control and get the corner exit speed there. Reese, are you back in there, sir?
I certainly hope so. Can you hear me?
You can. You're a bit louder, but I'm going to fix that on my end. Carry on, sir.
Okay, no trouble. Yeah, bit of a problem behind the scenes. My CPU decided it didn't want to do anything anymore, so I think that might be why I was cutting out. In any case, back to the race. And see Leon Benvelsen, who actually got a bad start. He was the one who really went nowhere on that standing start. He's trying to get into the top 5, though. He still managed to hold on to a top 6 position in spite of everything.
Certainly, Ben Velsen, probably one of the most cheered on drivers here in the chat, certainly on the Pit Road Productions chat, and we love having the fans in there. Juries, everyone has made made a post there saying go Leon, and I'm absolutely there for him. As you can see, he's going side by side with Marco Chicane, very high speed part of the track, and he's going to be on the inside as they come down to the chicane. You can see right behind him Martin Visser in the 137. Is he going to be able to capitalize now? Ben Velsen pitting Chicane out as wide as he can. Well played there, and it's managed to secure him up into P5. As you see now, Martin Visser looking to try and capitalize on that. Chicane under attack.
Yeah, defensive into La Source. What can Chicane do to keep him behind? Mahid Rahman passing Declan Marsden for 2nd place. The pole position time for Marsden was way ahead of everyone else, but it seems that he's a bit of a sitting duck in race conditions. He's fallen back to 3rd now by the end of lap 2. And into Arouge they come. Marsden will be back in the slipstream of Rahman with Raja Sekaran now out to a 3.5 second lead. This is insane here, and they're going to go 3 wide for 2nd place. Anthony Lanassa on the inside here. He's going to try his best outbreak Marsden, and Marsden will just hold on through the first part of the comm, but Lanassa has him on the exit. This is a great fight.
Yeah, I kind of feel sorry for Marsden at this point because he's literally in the middle of a Team Black sandwich. And you can see there, trying to put a nose in, trying to show a little bit of assertiveness there. As you see, Mahid Rahman is indeed right behind Leon Benvelsen. He's in that white silverish car in P5. He's going to be keen to get up on that action. And the more these drivers battle, the more Benvelsen is going to come into play. Visser isn't that far back either. There's a whole train of cars looking to try and find their way up and onto the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Loads of cars getting involved in this battle. It goes all the way back from 2nd to 10th. Every car in that margin within a second of each other. Benvelsen, though, has left Visser and Chicane behind, and he's going to try and have a go at Rahman, potentially, if he has his way about it. Meanwhile, we see Kane Halliburton in the gold car there behind Mikhail Prechuk. Halliburton's found his way into 9th place after just a couple of laps. So he might very well make his way up into 7th in just a few moments' time. Look at the slipstream that he's got here, side by side through Blanchimont, and he'll have the inside line. That's where you want to be at this corner. And he just, for a second there, I thought Prechuk was going to turn right into him. The margins are so close at these speeds, and now Prechuk will go defensive versus Garrett Love, who steams into the corner, but has to stay behind.
Oh, I like the cojones on Lund for that one. That was a pretty baller move, but it's fair play. It didn't quite pay off for him, but I love the fact he wanted to have a go. But Halliburton, honestly, the guy is an alien. It doesn't matter what car we put him in so far. He's just absolutely blisteringly quick right now. But we do know that the drivers did get in previous seasons, they got points for holding the coaches behind them. I don't know what happens if they take the coaches out. Certainly an interesting coaching discussion afterwards, perhaps. But I can tell you right now, let's have a quick check on the restaurant department, ladies and gentlemen. And by that, I mean the meatball flags. We've got the number 16 of Brandon Hung. He's in there. Andrew Calabrese in the 17. Brian Lockwood in the 2. And indeed, Juan San Miguel, as we see, 3 wide right behind Lanasa. And very quickly, they backed out of that. Good call, but certainly putting on a fantastic show here at Spa.
Wow, that's crazy. Absolutely insane stuff there. Yeah, Branson Hung was one of the cars that made his way into the pits after the lap 1 shenanigans, and it was actually when we caught him running wide out of Stavilo, and yeah, he actually got clattered by another car as he was trying to get back onto the circuit. That's why he got his mechanical black flag. Well, I don't think that this race is going to calm down anytime soon, but we might as well take the moment now to review what happened on the first lap. So keep an eye out here on drivers further back. Sammy Hendricks, the blue car in the center of your frame, as he tried up the inside, ended up clattering the Team Green car around, and that just created bedlam for everyone behind. That's the pile up that we saw on the way out of the first turn. Simon Collier also involved here. He was behind all of it when it happened. There's the contact ahead, and it's like, where do you go? There really isn't anywhere to go. So unfortunately for him, he got some damage for no real fault of his own.
Yeah, it looked like he'd done everything he could do to get the car slowed down, and then just, somebody just kind of appeared in front of him. Not a lot he can do here, as Anthony Lanassa now has moved his way up into P2. He's ahead of Declan Marsden. Marsden, Lanassa, and Rahman have been going hard at it this entire race, and now they have another problem. It's the crowd favorite, ladies and gentlemen. Oram cheering him on now. She's put these symbols in here again. Hang on a second here. I think it's Team Silver. The orange love heart is because he's from Netherlands, and then we got a lion. I know she explained this before, but honestly, it's... I can't speak in emojis, ladies and gentlemen. It's fair to say, despite the fact I'm a beautifully young age of 34 going on 50, I'm just not quite as sophisticated enough to understand that.
Yeah, well, I'm 31 going on 90, so I think we're going to have to get some explanation on that. But this fight... Yeah, full pension indeed. This fight is not slowing down at all. Marsden's back ahead of Lanassa now, and Rahman and Bentvelsen are solidly in tow. It looks like there's been trouble further back, though. Mikhail Pretschuk and Kane Halliburton have fallen down the order. Halliburton is towed back to pit lane. There has been a big problem back there in the sort of 7th or 8th area, and we're seeing it right now here. So Halliburton moves to the racing line, and okay. That's an uncharacteristic error from Kane Halliburton there.
Yeah, definitely. When you're pushing on the limit of grip that hard, though, it's fair to say just a little bit of a different surface, a little bit of curve maybe could just be enough to upset the car. And at that point, you're kind of along for a ride there. A little bit unfortunate, but certainly fair play to him. He was up, I don't know, about 20 spots. So, you know what? When you're pushing that hard, things are indeed going to happen. But right now, we're looking through the rear wing, ladies and gentlemen, of Declan Marsden, the #1 numbered driver in this series right now from the United Kingdom. We do wonder which part of the UK, actually, obviously, being a former Brit. Well, I guess I'll always be a Brit, but I don't live there anymore, ladies and gentlemen. I was exported, you could put it like that. You can see there as Declan Marsden definitely having a couple of connection issues right now. Has got 2 of the drivers right behind him, challenging, I say behind him, as it looks like Lanassa now has been able to get up and alongside us and making their way down into the chicane. How's this going to work out? Lanassa's going to be on the inside for the closing part. Is he going to be able to shut the door? No, not quite. A little bit of loose traction there as they're making their way down over the start finish. Now, the biggest thing they've got to do is make sure they get into single file for Rouge. I don't think we've seen them go side by side yet through this set of corners, but I do have to wonder what's going to happen if they do.
It looks like a good run for Lanassa out of La Source, and I think he is going to draw alongside Marsden on the way down to the most fearsome corner on the circuit. Gently does it, and Lanassa will get the position on the way through, and Marsden's been left hung out to dry. Rahman and Bentvelsen drafting with each other. Look at that move from Bentvelsen. Look at the speed he's got. He's going to find the way through here at Lacombe. He is ahead when they get to the braking zone, moves over to the racing line, chops the nose off for Mahid Rahman. And Anthony Lanassa moves on as well. Bentvelsen's up to second.
Oh boy, Ben Velzen, certainly it was an absolutely fantastic move, and it's fair to say it's one that I've done myself before. I remember doing a VRS. It was a GT3 2K and under race, and I did that exact same move. There was two people fighting ahead of me. I may have snuck down the grass very slightly when I did it. I'm not quite as classy as Ben Velzen, but absolutely loved that move. And definitely this bit, I got asked the other day, like, why do I do the commentary? I mean, do I do it because, it's, a nice little side hustle? Or do I do it because it's something I love? And races like this, Reese, like this, Rob, like, this is why I do this. This is absolutely fantastic entertainment here with the Almeida Racing Academy.
Yeah, fantastic battling. It was hard, but it was clean as well. But it's also far from over. We still have another lap or so to go. And how about the gap that Vijay Rajasekaran has pulled out for now? 4.5 seconds ahead of that battle we were watching. They've been following each other around, trying to pass at corners, going side by side. VJ has just been minding his own business, and he's got such an advantage. I don't think it's going to be overcome at all. Ben Velzen, though, has to come up against Anthony Lanassa, and they bang wheels on the way through the final chicane. Ben Velzen with the straighter exit round the outside of the final corner. Lanassa's going to have to wait for another opportunity. He might get it at turn one. There's a bit of a move opening to the inside, and Lanassa will get on the brakes as late as he dares. But Bentvelsen locks up on the outside, wide, allows Lanassa through.
Oh, this is going to be incredibly tight. We've seen him go too wide through here before. And you see, look, Bentvelsen's trying to get tucked back in behind him. He's kind of in a tough situation at this point because, honestly, when you're that close to the car ahead of you, it's kind of hard to see a grasp of where actually the corner is. And he's going to get the slipstream, but Mahir Rahman is indeed going to get a slipstream as well. You can see Bentvelsen, look, he's trying to pinch there, trying to squeeze Lanassa there to the inside. And look, right behind him, it's worked out against the teammate there as... No, he's bump drafting him.
Bentvelsen sweeps around the outside of Lacombe. He loses a bit of ground in the middle of the corner, though. Slightly offline. Lanassa's all over the back of him. But where do you pass is the question. The best passing opportunities around this circuit are at the end of the straights. They've got a whole section of sweepers to go through here before the draft gets picked up again.
Well, certainly, I think the cheerleading section for Bentvelsen is going to have to go and get him a red carpet and indeed maybe a cold beverage after this race. Certainly, I'm glad for him. It's only 15 minutes. I do wonder if we're going to get one more lap out of it. Depends on when Vijay Rajasekaran crossed the line. I've not seen the white flag yet. I think we're going to get that one extra lap, ladies and gentlemen, which is honestly at Spa, it's going to be an absolute belter. As you see Rajasekaran, don't get me wrong, I did call him out for being a little bit of an aggressive driver earlier, but when you're in the lead by about 5.3 seconds, you really can't be aggressive because you literally got no one there. You're kind of doing a Billy No mates, and fair play to him. It's a good race running strategy, but right now, this is where the action is, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at the rest of the field, there's a couple of battles going on, but this is the topic of discussion as Bentvelsen. He's had a great race. So far, he's up 5 spots, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy Childers, the hard charger right now, back in P8, up 12 spots, but it looks like Lanassa going to try and make a charge around the left-hander of Blanchimont. You've got to be careful we don't go too far off track. He does not want to get a slowdown, and it's going to put Lanassa on the inside for the first part of the chicane. More action happening behind. Declan Mars and Mahir Rahman going at it, and it looks like Marston's gone a little bit deep there. And look like Mahir Rahman trying to make another move there as well. We're sorry, BJ. We're going to stay with this one here as it's checkered flag, ladies and gentlemen. Bentvelsen holds on to get a P3. It looks like Declan Marston only just able to get one there, but wow, what an absolutely fantastic battle here for the first round at Spa.
God, that is crazy. Crazy racing for second place. Bentvelsen and Lanassa side by side there in the final chicane. And a bit of discussion going on between them on the voice chat. I couldn't hear it. But just look at this. Look at this, how they were able to play this coming into Lacombe. Just fantastic stuff. Bentvelsen was able to get on the brakes later on the racing line there. You can get on the brakes so much later for Lacombe than you think. And from there on, he just had to wait for the last straight to get passed by Lanassa. Super close racing all the way to the end, Zippy, and we've still got a couple of drivers yet to take to the finish here. Martin Visser, it looks like, is going to be the last finisher on the lead lap here, and unfortunate for him, down 11 spots from where he started. Could have been a much better way to start proceedings.
Yeah, definitely. I did see a little bit of a warning earlier. He got caught up in an incident earlier on, but certainly the good thing is we are going to indeed have a second race. It'll be a 40-minute race if my memory serves me correctly here. And I got to admit, after a 15-minute one like that, I mixed feelings. Like I was all for the endurance format where they're going to have a pit stop and stuff like that, but with racing action that close, I honestly, I want another one of those races. I'd happily take another 15 minutes if it's going to be that good.
Well, we're going to get 15 plus 15 plus 10. So I suppose that'll work out pretty well. Results then for the first race here. Vijay Rajasekaran dominant in the lead, 6 seconds to Anthony Lanassa, and Leon Bentvelsen finishing just behind. Mahid Rahman missed out on getting that podium. So did Declan Marsden, who started on pole position. Marco Chacon, Sean Haggerty, Jeremy Childers, Thomas Nieminen, and Mikhail Prechuk rounding out your top 10. Then it was Adrian and Enns with Simon Collier, Amin Alashahi, and Sammy Hendricks rounding out your top 15. Janchik, Matthias Kuhn with Martin Visser finishing last on the lead lap. Joel Singleton 1 lap down. Kane Halliburton had to tow, as did Garrett Lund and Fernando Alfonso, Andrew Calabrese, Branson Hung, Juan San Miguel, and Brian Lockwood did not make it anywhere close to the finish of this race. Well, we're in warm-up now, and it is time for a word from Swelio.
The Almeida Racing League is growing fast. Hundreds of drivers, multiple splits, broadcasted races, and it's not just about individual winning, it's a team championship. You race with your own squad, you learn how to compete, and you grow together. And we don't throw you into the races blindly. Every week, we help you prepare with pit parties to train side-by-side battles, workshops with live coaching, 20 driving challenges with full tutorials, and even group raids into official iRacing races after the league night. For just $25 a month, this is the most complete training experience in sim racing. Join us as a member today to start your advanced training and racing with us. I'll see you on track.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a huge warm welcome back and a huge thank you to Swelio and indeed to the sponsors as well. Podium One, definitely want to get some sim gear, definitely check them out. And honestly, I do kind of wish we could steal Connor Bell today. He is there in Ottawa down in the Bywood Market. Definitely go and see him if you're local. And I've not managed to make a Broadway's reference yet today, so I'm going to do that now. Certainly if you're in Ottawa, go to Broadway's for breakfast. I am literally going to have to write to these guys and say, look, you guys got to send me a gift card or something because I miss that breakfast so much. And I do have to make my way back out to Ottawa. I've got some friends out there I would indeed like to see. Actually, Toronto is going to be hot. I think it's about 2 weeks' time. Rob, actually, you might want to unmute yourself for this one. This is going to be in your neck of the woods. The Toronto Indy is going to be there, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, it'd be a good time to go see some great racing action in real life. We're going to have the Indy cars. There's going to be radicals, and I believe there's probably going to be a few more as well. Actually, as I say that, Rob, you're getting a shout out here from Canadian Cutting Edge for your camera work as well. So fair play to them. But I've got to admit, it's definitely some good real-life racing going on. And I have to wonder as well how this endurance format's going to work out. The 40-minute race at Spa, I mean, I don't think we're going to end up seeing too much lap traffic. And if they are, it's going to be purely on incidents alone. But Reese, like, I don't know how I'd play this one. You know, I'd want to fight as hard as I can, but just how much fuel can you save in a Formula 3 round here?
Yeah, that is the question. I'm presuming that a pit stop is not required, or is it?
No, you got a pit for this one.
You got a pit. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, from what we've seen in the first race, the draft is incredibly strong. So I think if you're willing to be patient and sit behind, you will save quite a bit of fuel, and you might be able to get an extra lap or so out from your rivals, but I don't think any more than that, because Spa is a track where the vast majority of the time is spent on throttle. It's an incredibly fast circuit. The corners are long. It can be tough to fuel save around here without slipstream assistance. So I think if you're in a pack, if you're sitting behind someone, just don't pass them, and you'll benefit in the pit cycle.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the similar tactics as well. So, like, if you think about that fantastic move we saw there from Bentvelsen, like, in that scenario, it was a phenomenal move, and I absolutely loved it. But there's going to be scenarios where you're almost going to want to just, like, hang back, just breathe off the throttle, just, like, gently squeeze, ladies and gentlemen, rather than absolutely beat it into oblivion, which is probably why I don't have too much success here, as, oh, whoops. Clean up on aisle 5, ladies and gentlemen. We've got one of the red cars currently span around there. He's making his way back. Fernando Alfonso, it's great to see you back, albeit sideways on this scenario here. Certainly did used to have quite a good cheerleading squad in the chat, actually, and back when we was running the M2, but definitely Definitely good to see him back. And actually, let's we've got, yeah, he is number 7 of Jeremy Childers. Let's have a little bit of a camera eye on him for just a moment. Certainly, he's first time I started talking to Childers, he did indeed narrowly miss out there on making top split. And it's fair to say he's made his way up into it. It was a hard charger for that last race. I'm looking forward to see what he can do. And I've got to say as well, a shout out actually to his video skills. He did contact me, and he's fair play. He's made his own little YouTube channel and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, forgive me, but I'm not here to promote his YouTube channel. But he made this little intro video for it, and I got to say, I was so impressed by it because he actually, like, he took the commentary from the races where I was commentating on him, and he made it sound fantastic. So I don't know what talents he had in the mixing booth, but fair play to him, and I really enjoyed it. So certainly, you know, Jeremy Childers may indeed be streaming as well. That's another thought as well, Reese. I do wonder, like, you know, maybe not a today thing, but down the road, if we could start getting more people here, like, you know, try and pull people in during interviews during the race. I'd love to do that here. Certainly for the Almeida Racing Academy. But let's take a quick look at the grid, ladies and gentlemen. And indeed, we're going to have Vijay Rajasakaran. It looks like it's going to be a repeat of the race results here from that first one. So this is going to be good news for Rajasakaran. He could indeed be on the road for 2 wins here today, with Anthony Nasser in second, Ben Belson in third, Mahid Rahman's going to take fourth, from Declan Marston in fifth, Marco Chacon kind of sneaking under the radar there for Team Raccoon Racing in sixth, Sean Haggerty takes seventh, with Jeremy Childers, the man, the one, in the legend himself, Mr. Jeremy Childers out in P8. Thomas Niemann, he's out of uniform today, but he's in P9, with Michael Prechuk closing out your top 10.
Yes, and that may be all the time we have for the grid. Adrian ends on row 6, but we're only got under 10 seconds to go on the grid timer, and the grid has not been extended, so it looks like we're going to be going racing in just a few seconds' time. Lights are up, and let's see if Vijay Rajasekaran can make it 2 from 2 here. 40 minutes of racing, and we are away. I think I might have seen potentially one person get a jump start, and it was Marco Chacon. He's got a black flag. Rajasekaran wide in turn 1, and Lanassa will find his way through to the lead.
Well, this is going to be very interesting indeed. So far, Rajasakaran hasn't had to work too hard, certainly not for the endurance of the race. You see Ben Balzen there in P3, in P5, Mahid Rahman looking to try and make some moves. Now, this is where the slipstream is really going to come into play. Now, you got to remember as well, Reese, cold tyres, they're single file for Eau Rouge. Well, that's going to change very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Are we going to see 4 wide? Are we going to see 5 wide as they make their way down towards the right-hander? I am absolutely loving this. Are we going to see a pile up here as 3-4 wide, and I called it, ladies and gentlemen. Declan Marston there having a little bit of contact with Mahid Rahman as he takes to the exit road. All of these cars now streaming by, and who's that worked out for? It looks like Rajasakaran has been able to hold on to the lead, with Ben Belson moving up into P2.
Yeah, good job there from Ben Belson. He took advantage of that. Unfortunately, Lanassa got cleaned up a bit there. It seems that Mahid Rahman was a bit too aggressive on the way down there, and unfortunately, big contact being made with Declan Marsden and Anthony Lanassa. So our pole sitter has fallen all the way to the back. You'll see Rahman there try to get up the inside, and then Marsden and Lanassa come together there, just locking wheels at the turn-in point. Just unfortunate for the both of them. But there's your lead pack for the moment. Kevin Adrian in P8. Oh, that's Cairo Inns, who's just gone off there at Fanye. And he finds his way behind Matthias Kuhn there. Sammy Hendricks right behind him, and we can always count on Hendricks to be a big factor in a battle. Martin Visser as well, looking to gain 4 positions up here from a race run result that he wouldn't have wanted.
Actually, as I'm looking at my timing screen as well, Reese, I can still see Marco Chacon, that number 11 card, does still indeed have that black flag. As right now, Ben Belson is under pressure from Mahid Rahman as they're making their way around the end of lap 1, ladies and gentlemen. And already we're starting to see the field has not spread out, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what I want to be seeing and what I want to be saying here, as Niemann is probably the biggest gap right now. As Marco Chacon, I see he's come down pit road. Yeah, he has indeed, serving that penalty. It's not what he's going to want to be doing, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it may be a drive-through for that one, but with such a long pit lane, is going to put him down and out of the driver. So taking a look right now at the timing screen, and yeah, it's fair to say he is very much behind the pack at this point.
Yeah, it's I think a stop and go of quite some time for jumping the start. Replay here of Fernando Afonso, who completely missed the braking point for La Source and went sliding in, and One of the Team Green cars unfortunately got involved in that one. Interlocking wheels on the way out as well. We've also lost Kane Halliburton just now as well. So Halliburton's retired from both races so far today. What on earth happened to him? Oh, I think that explains it.
Downforce not found, Reese.
Yeah, rear end not found either. And that's going to be a race over there for Halliburton. I don't know how he got that damage, but yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with Afonso, because they were in a completely different part of the circuit. But yeah, that's one coach down. Brian Lockwood's found his way up to 17th, but we keep our eyes on Kevin Adrian for now, fighting with Jan Jančić. And Jan makes the move on him into Fanye and keeps the momentum around the outside. Beautiful run.
Yeah, well, certainly out of these two, honestly, my money's going to be on Kevin Adrian. I've had the pleasure of racing both of those drivers side by side, and it's fair play to say that Kevin Adrian is definitely one of the cleaner drivers, especially if it rains. That man has... We're going to go there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call it godlike powers behind the wheel when indeed it's just starts to get a little bit wet on the track. Because right now we've got a Team Red procession, ladies and gentlemen, being led by Jeremy Childers. Cairo ends right behind him. Certainly these two drivers will be very keen to work together to try and conquer the man ahead of them, Sammy Hendricks. He's currently up there, as that looks like a very deep move there by Cairo ends, able to sneak his way up past Childers. As you see there, all of these guys looking to try and fight and move their way up through the pack with two Team Green cars right behind of Garrett Lund and Branson Hung.
Good run up from Lund and Hung as well. 7 and 9 spots gained respectively. Mikhail Prechuk, meanwhile, started 10th and worked his way up to 3rd in the first couple of laps. A very impressive first few laps for Mikhail. Sean Haggerty and Mahid Rahman are chasing him down here. Two Team Black cars. And look at the slipstream that Mahid Rahman gets. You'll see him pop into view in just a few moments here. And he'll try and get the move done on Haggerty. Won't be able to get past the blue machine of Prechuk for the time being. Might have to wait for the next opportunity. As long as he can nail the middle sector, he'll be right there with him. And also, I think this is a repeat of race 1 for Vijay Rajasekaran. He's out in front. The gap just keeps growing. What I think Vijay's big strength is here is that he's able to continue running super fast times without any slipstream, without battling with anyone. That's going to benefit him in the short run, but in the long run, he doesn't have anyone to slipstream off and fuel save, so might take a bit longer at the pit stop.
Yeah, so we're going to have to see how that works out for him, because it's one of those things where, while it's good to be ahead, unless he's going to be able to pull out a whole pit stop, which fair play to him would be pretty quite the accomplishment there. I don't think in this field of drivers, I think that would be a little bit of an ask, even for the likes of Halliburton before he had a detached rear wing there. It would indeed be quite the challenge. You see a couple of drivers there having a little bit of a dip, not in the water, ladies and gentlemen, but indeed the sand here, as Cairo ends currently resting in P10. He's got Canadian Cutting Edge cheering him on from the Pit Road Productions chat. Again, huge love of support there from his teammate, as he looks like he's trying to make a move up on the inside of Kevin Adrian.
Now there goes Cairo. 3 spots up now in the field. Up ahead of them, Prechuk and Rahman were fighting over 3rd place, and it looks like it's still worked out in the favor of Prechuk. There was an attempt by Mahid Rahman, and now he's going to have the slipstream coming out of La Source all the way up to Lacombe, unless he wants to just get the move done at La Source, which it looks like he's doing.
Yeah, certainly trying to go through Rouge too wide. It is great fun, ladies and gentlemen, but definitely not the best one for trying to gain. Because you got to wonder as well, what are these drivers looking for right now? Are they fighting the guy ahead of them? In this case, it's going to be Michael Prechuk versus Mahid Rahman. Or are they thinking about Ben Velzen, who's about 2.5 seconds up the road? Yeah,
I think Ben Velzen is doing roughly the same thing that Rajasekaran's doing, just minding his own business and not getting involved in the fights. You are getting straight line speed boosts by slipstreaming, but the problem is it's so easy to battle and go side by side and outbrake people that you just end up slowing each other up, getting involved in the heat of the fight. You do your best laps when you're on your own.
Yeah, certainly you do have to wonder. As we've got one of the drivers up there, that's Martin Visser taking a little bit of a scenic route there as he goes and returns back on track. And there's a bit of debris there, and it's fair to say he found that debris, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa! Joel Singleton with the acrobatics there. That's definitely going to be a replay job as that front nose cone. It's fair to say that car decided to take a little bit of a dabble in the hockey side of things, ladies and gentlemen, as it has a broken nose. So here you can see there's Joel Singleton there. Gets a little bit loose, has a bit of contact with the green car there, and absolutely catapults into that Armco.
Yeah, that was Amin Al-Shahi, who had to take avoiding action for Visser getting back onto the racetrack there. You see how he turned in and he had to open the steering. That got him into the gravel, that arrested his momentum. And then trying to go through was Joel Singleton. Not much else that could be done there. And you never know, they might be looking at that re-entry from Martin Visser.
Honestly, on that one, Reese, I don't think I would pin any driver for that. I would call it a racing incident there. Visser rejoined. I don't feel he was quite on the racing line. Maybe you need to have another watch of it there. But with Armin Al-Ashari,
I feel... apex of the turn, mate.
Well, let's take a replay and then Reese can explain to me why I'm wrong. Certainly nothing I'm not used to, ladies and gentlemen. I'll admit defeat on that one, but certainly... Yeah, look, Rob's right up for it. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that one.
So he did re-enter the racetrack safely, quote unquote, but he was on the racing line and slow at the apex of the corner. I suppose you could argue that Al-Shahi should have seen it coming and maybe just opened the steering a bit earlier, but it all just resulted in some reactive maneuvers and ultimately damaging a few cars from it.
Okay, so I'm going to go with, in my defense, now I already know I'm on the back foot on this one, but he was predictable in the rejoin, and if it just slammed on the anchors, I think that would have been worse. So
that's a fair point.
I think I'm going to stand in my heels and say that it was a racing incident. And I'm also going to question the fact that I've just said I'm going to stand in my heels because honestly, I mean, I'm 5'10", I don't need the extra height, and I don't think I've got the balance to try and walk in heels.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they stilettos? How thick are those heels?
Pencils, buddy, pencils.
Yeah, they'd have to be tree trunks for me and my 140 kilo mass. Anyway, we shall see how this battle works out. For the top 12, Brian Lockwood has found his way up there. He's got Garrett Lund and Branson Hung finding some slipstream behind him. Anthony Lanassa trying to make some recovery here. Remember, Lanassa was involved with Declan Marsden on either the first or the second lap, and he's actually making a good recovery here. He could get a few extra positions. I think what he'll be thinking about the most, though, is the pit stop. How can he minimize that stop time and make sure that he comes out in a position where he can run his maximum pace?
Yeah, actually, I was having a quick look there. If you have a look at Lanassa's car again, the left front side of that front nose cone, it looks like it's got a little bit of a scuff on it. Maybe it's just my eye. As you see Garrett Lund and Brenton Hung going side by side, it's going to be an opportunity here. He was thinking exactly one, and we're seeing, this isn't going to end well. Free wide into a chicane is never a winning scenario. Great fun to watch, but never a winning scenario there, especially that one, ladies and gentlemen, as Brandon Hung basically got away scot-free with that, as we see a good bit of smoke, and there's a car turned around in that chicane. I believe it's Calabrese. Oh dear.
Yeah, it is. He gets it turned around, and on his way through, he also almost gets clobbered by Fernando Alfonso. There was a bit of miscommunication between the drivers there too, I think. Unfortunate there for Calabrese. Was it just down to traction? Did he spin by himself? It looks like he did. Comes through the chicane, gets on the power here out of the curb, and then the rear end just goes, no thanks.
Yeah, it's a little bit too keen on the green, ladies and gentlemen. That's fair play. If the green pedal, well, I say the gas pedal was a green pedal. Generally, it means go as, yeah, definitely Fernando Alfonso. I'm going to understand on that one. He's got every right to be upset there with Calabrese. That would have been like a, what are you doing? And I'd be inclined to agree with him. I probably would have said something a little bit more colourful. But ladies and gentlemen, use your imagination for that one. Canadian Curtain Edge wondering, when do you expect pitting for fuel? I'm going to say when they get low. I'm going to give you that much. That's as much information as I've got. As we see Jeremy Childers now in the number 7 car, trying to make his way up through the field. He's currently showing down 8 positions, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, he's generally quite a clean driver. So I do wonder if he got caught up in an incident earlier on, as Raja Sakaran is there with the fastest lap right now. He set that on lap 5, ladies and gentlemen, so just a lap ago. Currently pulled away a 2.7 second lead, but right now the battles are indeed frugal here at the Almeida Racing Academy.
Yeah, they certainly are. I'm going back to see what happened to Childers, and it just looks to me like he was attacked in a couple of places, and on lap, I think around about lap 2 or so, he might have had an issue. I'm not too sure, but regardless, he's going to try his best to hold on and gain a few more before the end. Matthias Kuhn, meanwhile, got Sammy Hendricks up behind him, and they're trying to stay in touch with Cairo Ends, but I can see that Brian Lockwood and Kevin Adrian are starting to come up on them. That's a big slide there from Jan Janchik, and he'll have to give the position up to Ends.
See, Richard Swindells is definitely having a little bit of fun here. He's one of our commentators here at Pit Road Productions, sending me some messages with some memes in it. With and also, I believe it was along with Keen on the Green, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm waiting for that to appear in the production. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, exactly the result I was looking for from my comrades there. It's fair to say Snoop Dogg would be very qualified to represent what's going on in that picture, and you can use your imagination from that point. But definitely some fun battles happening here. Jan Janchik going up against Cairo Ends. Now we've seen Jan Janchik get in a little bit of hot water before, have a little bit of coaching, even a little bit of time off, vacation from the race control here in the Almeida Racing League. Now, can he keep stuff together and try and manage to finish this race cleanly with his teammate alongside of Cairo Ends?
That is the question. For now, looking good. Anthony Lanassa still trying to gain a few spots here. London Hung just behind him, and Jeremy Childers behind. Lanassa, I think, though, isn't too happy with his car at the moment. He's taking some lines that don't usually net you great pace, and his fastest lap is 7/10 slower than the pace being set at the front by Rajasekaran. But that's not saying much, because the fastest lap of the next closest car to Rajasekaran is still another 4/10 slower than our leader's ultimate pace. Rajasekaran is just looking unstoppable right now.
Yeah, it's definitely been potent here at Spa. I guess that must be on his Princess-approved track list, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, I know it's on mine. As you can see here, I'm actually impressed. Despite the fact we're 15 minutes in, the racing is still incredibly close, but the driver's definitely not fighting quite as hard as we see Sammy Hendricks here. He's going to have a fight indeed, because look behind him, ladies and gentlemen. It's the number 2 car of Brian Lockwood, and I do have to wonder why he's rocking the red paint today. Maybe a little bit of camouflage here. As you can see there, he's got the slipstream, he's got the exit, and he's going to be on the outside as they make their way into the final chicane.
On the racing line, more rubber. Brian Lockwood gets the inside for the final corner. Hendricks will try his best to fight it on traction, but I think Lockwood's got it done.
Yeah, definitely Hendricks running over a little bit of the curb there. Now, is this going to be an opportunity now? Can the number 27 car just go, thank you, Brian, and tuck in behind him and try and stay with him to try and slingshot himself up through the order? That's one of the things I've found often when doing league races. If you find a more potent driver has indeed toppled off the top of the step, and they all of a sudden end up hanging it back and solving it with me, is this an opportunity to try and slingshot themselves forward? Now, sometimes it does indeed work out. You've just got to be able to stay with them, Bree. Certainly, I've had good intentions, but not always the best executions. It looks like Neiman now is getting in the fight with Jan Janchik.
Yep, and is that bump drafting there? Sammy Hendricks on Brian Lockwood? All right. Well, whatever floaties your boaty, let's go into Lacombe and try and get the exit into the sweeping second half of this circuit. Yeah, I think that might have been a minor benefit to both Lockwood and Hendricks. They are now in touch with Matthias Kuhn and Cairo Ends. Got Janchik and Niemanen, who slowed each other up a little bit at the front of that pack, making their moves. And now this battle stretches all the way back from 6th to 11th. Only got to go back another 2 seconds to find the battle from 12th to 16th as well. So a solid train of cars here in the midfield, as it seems our top 5 have all spread out.
Yes, and I've got to say, if there's going to be anybody in this grid of cars who's going to bump draft and, you know, push the limit of what they can get away with here, it's always going to be Sammy Hendricks for me. He definitely is a little bit fearless, very relaxed, very casual approach to, you know, getting things done. And I got to say, it's quite admirable in its own right, certainly entertaining. That's why he is indeed one of the novice coaches here. As we see Garrett Lund now getting into a little bit of a scrap here. We've got Jeremy Childers behind him, but right now he's got Lanassa and Kevin Adrian in front of them. But for how long? Is this going to be an opportunity for Childers here as they're going too wide through Blanchimont? Now Lund's going to be on the inside. Adrian's going to get hung out to the right a little bit there. But what's going to happen as they head down to the chicane? Is Adrian going to be able to force it late on the brakes? No, he steps back, goes back in line. Childers is going to be there with a front row seat right behind him, perhaps trying to go a little bit of the long game here as we see Niemanen, the first driver scheduled here to come down pit road.
Yes, so first one to blink of the top 17 cars. We obviously see that Marco Chacon has already visited the pits once, but that is for a drive-through penalty for that jump start. We saw Marsden in the pits 7 laps ago. That was for damage. Martin Visser also for damage 4 laps ago. Collier and Calabrese have also gone into the pits at least once in this race for damage. So it looks like we're going to be seeing the fight continue on here. Brian Lockwood and Caro Enns trying to get past Matthias Kuhn in the blue car. And Matthias will have to yield to Lockwood on the way into Malmedy, but could come back at Bruxelles. This beautiful diving right-hander. Not always a place you see drivers out braking, though. Seems like he's going to stay back for a few more corners.
Certainly for now. If you're going to go and send it on somebody, I'm not sure that Lockwood would be the person to do it on. Don't get me wrong. It's, you know, you get the whole first of the Apex discussion. I can think of a certain, it would have been harsh. I was going to say, I was thinking of Sid the Slop on that, but that would be a little bit harsh. It's not fair that the guy gets called a memes for that. But certainly, Mr. Verstappen there, actually a strong believer in that kind of technique. And myself, I'm definitely one for a late brake maneuver. And one of my buddies just likes to do the what he calls the Dan Salmon Classic, and it starts at 1 car back, ends up 3 cars back, and all of a sudden it's getting called out for 10 cars back, ladies and gentlemen. So it's fair so you can see what my kind of driving style is. Poor. As you see right now, Cairo Enns is going to have to be on the defensive with Sammy Hendricks now right behind him as they're heading towards Blanchimont.
Yeah, up the inside. Not close enough for slipstream from the car ahead, almost interlocking wheels. But the move is completed cleanly. Enns doesn't have any response up at the chicane. As a new fastest lap for Vijay Rajasekaran, down to 2:11.239. The fuel is getting lighter, and it seems like Enns has decided it's time for him to pit as well. Now, worth pointing out, I mentioned Marsden and Visser. They, I think, might have pitted for damage, but at the same time, their pit stop times don't really reflect damage repair. Niemanen's pit stop was 4.5 seconds, and it looks like around about the same for Cairo Enns and also Marsden and Visser. So all of this has resulted in Declan Marsden not being too far behind Cairo Enns and Thomas Niemanen. Marsden, I think, will be solidly in the midfield by the time the pit cycle ends, maybe even better.
Well, what I can tell you is that a certain driver did just make a pit stop, but it was for a black flag, ladies and gentlemen. The number 19 car, Fernando Alfonso. I'm guessing he picked up a few too many incident points looking at that. If I take a quick peek here, I'll see if I can find some statistics for you. If not, it may indeed be for not serving a slowdown here, as we see Cairo Enns making his way into the pits there. Now you have to wonder as well. Got to be very careful on that pit entry. Certainly, I know that Rob, in particular, will enjoy roasting my antics on pit entry. I have a pretty poor track entry record on that one here. But right now, we're here with the battle between Matthias Kuhn and indeed Sammy Hendricks right behind.
Yeah, then Marco Chacon, who has yet to take a scheduled pit stop. He had a drive-through for jumping the start. Right behind Juan San Miguel, who is the last of the cars to have not visited pit lane at all in this race. Up 10 positions, see how many of them he holds on to once he filters through for his pit stop. Maybe riding the curb a little bit too much there and slowing him down. Not seeing many takers onto pit lane from the very front of the field. We'll see if Marco Chacon can find his way past Juan San Miguel with the inside line into the bus stop. Nearly getting into him, but solid out braking maneuver, and he's through without much fuss. Only taker to pits on this lap has been Kevin Adrian in the number 9.
Well, making his way down pit road indeed, as you see different battles, different strategies starting to emerge, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, one of the hottest battles we've got going on is the 22 of Sean Haggerty. You see right behind him, Yang Cheek. He's definitely having a good day today so far, really getting into it, doing as much as he can to try and slingshot himself up through the order, showing up as now up 11 spots there. He's still side by side with Haggerty. Now, we have seen drivers come together before. Yanchik using a little bit of that curb in there, and I've got to say, textbook pass, beautifully done by the number 45.
It always, anytime someone does that, it always feels like they're not going to make the corner, but they do, you know? These are wings and slicks open wheelers. Downforce squares with speed. So, as I like to say occasionally, the faster you go, the faster you go. The more you attack a corner, the more downforce you have, which increases your speed, up to a point, of course. But Yanchik, prime example of using that extra speed to just get a little bit more air running over those wings, a little bit more downforce, and it was able to give him the grip he needed to complete the move.
Honestly, Reese, I would love to see you talk your way out of a speeding ticket. Like, that would be entertainment in its own right. Maybe we'll have to put that on our other channel, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to get Rob, I think you've got the mustache to play a police officer. I certainly think I think that could be a good hoot. We'll have to do some blooper reels there for that one. Definitely some interesting ideas we're having here in the Pit Road Productions booth. But again, if you're watching here, a huge warm welcome to you. And again, if you're watching on Swallow Almeida's channel, again, a huge warm welcome. And if you haven't done it already, why not, ladies and gentlemen, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to see you around here much more often. Certainly for both of us, both Swallow and myself here at Pit Road Productions, indeed Reese and Rob as well. We'd all love to see you back and see you taking part in the chat, even taking part in some of the racing as well. Certainly, if you want to get involved in this league, ladies and gentlemen, you do need to be a member. As I can hear Reese letting out a little bit of a sigh, and indeed, it has come to an end. Yan Cheek's hot streak has indeed gone very cold. The rear end of that car, it's fair to say, open concept, ladies and gentlemen. He's redesigned it, and he's lost the rear wing.
Took too much curb at the second apex of the chicane, and there was nowhere for Sean Haggerty to go. Rear end swings out. Haggerty tried to avoid, but not in time. Yanchik loses his rear wing, and it looks like that's going to be the end of proceedings so far for the driver who was up 11 positions at the time of the incident. And similar to what happened to Brian Lockwood in the previous race, I don't think he'll be making his way around the full lap with no rear wing on the car. He can certainly try, though.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit ambitious there. Certainly going through Rouge's. Niemanen, he's made his pit stop already, so has Cairo Enz, and now these guys are going hard at it. Now, Niemanen was indeed the first driver to make that pit. We're not sure what the penalty is for being out of uniform, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason, Police Academy seems to pop into my head for that one. I have a feeling I may indeed be relatable to Murdoch, but we'll let you work that one out for your own entertainment value here. As indeed, Yan Cheek did get a meatball flag after that little bit of an incident there. If you're wondering why we call it the meatball, it is literally a black flag with an orange dot in the middle. I don't actually know anybody who calls it a repair flag. It's universally understood as the meatball flag. As we have a driver here now, forgive me here, I'm not too hot at flags, but I believe that's the Australian flag here from Sam Catacuzino is racing there. Good day from what I believe is Australia. I've got a feeling one of your fellow countrymen is coming to join the chat.
Yeah, good old Sam K. See him in broadcast chats from time to time. Always likes to come in and have a chat. Good to see you here, Sam. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. Garrett Lund, meanwhile, in 10th place, still keeping Lanassa behind him. And, I mean, the pace just keeps getting faster and faster for Vijay Rajasekaran, doesn't it? There's a new fastest lap, down to a 2:11.1. This is crazy pace from the number 12.
Certainly, if it was indeed a ship, there is wind in them sails, and it's fair to say that, actually, as I say that, Lockwood's just gone and heard us, and he's absolutely just stuck it to him. Just goes and puts in a 2:10.8. It's only about 0.3 of a second quicker, ladies and gentlemen, but there's a good reason that these people are coaches, and certainly of a 5,146 I rating, he's potent.
has certainly finished higher than his assigned number in official events should dictate. Many times. Well, let's see what Lockwood will be able to do to find his way further up the field. Lanassa, meanwhile, finally gets into the top 10 there, finally passes Garrett Lund. And how far is it to Brenton Hung? 1.2 seconds or so, and you see him just in the distance there. So Lund might be able to stick in the slipstream of Lanassa here, who's been making a solid, maybe not quick, but persistent recovery since the start of this race.
Certainly, you know, I just got a gold star race. I've just put it in our production chat for you. Certainly, I'm going to take that action. It doesn't happen that often. Usually, more it's a who let this guy on the air kind of deal. But Brenton Hung right now, I have to wonder if he's going to be a sitting duck. Already that gap behind him, it was about 1.5 seconds. They've closed in half a second already, ladies and gentlemen. Anthony Lanassa is indeed a man on a mission. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's going to start breaking out into song and dance. He may do. He may be able to do both, ladies and gentlemen, and drive the car as well. Indeed, a epiphany of multitasking right now. But he's made his way into the top 10. Can he make his way up into pre-9? Brenton Hung, the next person on the challenging list.
Hung's up 15 positions right now. Lockwood has the most positions gained at 21, but still an impressive run from Branton. And Lund up 10. Juan San Miguel has yet to pit, but he's still up 11 places. I don't think we're going to get a solid read on who's been the biggest winners and losers of this race until we see that pit cycle end. We're still waiting on those stops here from most of the field. Now, Jeremy Childers is the next car to come into pit lane. It seems like there's only been one or two at a time peeling off into the pits. Some of them have gone for an early stop. Some of them, in fact, most of the field right now, going for a very late stop. We're about to enter the final quarter of this race, and we're still waiting on pit stops from 13 cars.
It's something that's exactly what I was thinking about just now. As it looks like Lanassa has indeed caught up. But no, that's Garrett Lund, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are still fighting at it. So Brenton Hung able to hold on. Garrett Lund very much keeping Lanassa busy there. And it's going to be Lanassa there on the inside for the first part, on the outside for the second. I do love where we get switchback after switchback as Lanassa is going to be having a run there and almost off the track. The pair of them just squeeze, and look, there is room left, but albeit it's down in the millimeters, ladies and gentlemen. Really testing the limits there of these Formula 3 cars. And again, a right-hander to left hand, a little bit of a slide there from Lund, and that's exactly what Lanassa needed there. Slightly offline, but able to get the position done and sold. But look at that, just in that battle alone, they dropped back another 1.3 seconds to P9 of Brenton Hung.
Yeah, wow. Just shows you how much battling costs you at this circuit and how much those curbs can cost you if you run over them at the wrong time. Little bit of loss of traction over the slightly slipperier painted surface for Garrett Lund. Well, here comes Branton. He is catching Matthias Kuhn, Sean Haggerty and Sammy Hendricks. And a pit stop could make all the difference for these guys. Stop times have been running anywhere from 4.2 seconds for Cairo Enns all the way up to 5.2 seconds for Kevin Adrian. But most of them have been around 4.5 seconds. We'll see if anyone can make a little bit more time in the lane here, as we should see a couple more go in. There goes Matthias Kuhn.
It's certainly an interesting variety on pit strategy here, as we see. I'm not actually seeing anybody get caught for speeding yet. I'm actually quite disappointed that nobody's done as, oh dear, there's a barbecue happening in one of those cars, and
someone left the engine running.
Yep, she's crispy. Who's hiding in the pits with the smoking car? It looks like one of the Team Black guys. I think it might be Joel Singleton. Oh yeah,
it is. Singleton.
This car is on fire.
Oh, poor Joel. Oh, further up, Brian Lockwood makes up another position, or tries to at least. There we go. He's going to just about get it done here versus Mikhail Prechuk, who was sliding it across the curb just then. Did you see that?
I did, and actually, it's fair play to Prechuk. He is no ducks given today in terms of his battling. He doesn't care who is indeed coming into the pond. He's very much put the duck out and definitely had a good bit of fun battling, albeit, don't get me wrong, you really have to when you're going up against drivers such as Brian Lockwood. Already he's pulled away 0.4 of a second, but can Prechuk stay in that drive to try and capitalize? He's Mahid Rahman, he's about 3 seconds up the road, 3.5. Can Prechuk stay in the wings there of the Academy coach and find his way up onto the podium?
A lot of potential there for Prechuk. He's very strong in these Formula 3 cars, isn't he? He's had a good round so far. Started 12th, ended up 10th in race 1, and, well, he took advantage of all the chaos at the start to immediately rocket himself up into a top 3. Oh, dear.
Yeah, oh dear, I've got a crash warning for Kevin Adrian. I'm wondering if he's just coming to the pits, or indeed is a crash warning. Let's find out what happened. I know sometimes the pit entry can indeed trigger that warning. Nope, he's gone around, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen it here, we've seen it again, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly it can be a, I do wonder if there's a little bit of maybe camber as well as you come around that. It just, car doesn't quite settle down. It's just enough to make it a little bit light here as we see Prechuk make his way into the pits. Vijay Rajasakaran in the pits, Mahid Rahman in the pits. Indeed, the pit lane all the way done, all of a sudden has become like the Tim Hortons drive-through on my way to work, ladies and gentlemen. It can be quiet all day, and then when I decide I want a coffee, there is indeed a lineup, but hopefully the coffee is indeed better here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, I suppose you have a normal caffeine schedule is what that tells me, if you're going for a coffee at the same time everyone else is. Stops complete then for our race leader. 4 seconds flat in the box for Rajasekaran and for Sammy Hendricks as well. So that's rather quick. They by pitting later have more of an idea of how much fuel they'll actually need to get to the finish, and they've been able to stop in the pits pretty much dead on the marks. And Rajasekaran, despite taking a stop, still comes out in 3rd place, which shows you how dominant his pace has been the day.
Well, you know what we are going to do. Let's take a quick look at our new race leader, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the crowds are going to be going wild for this gentleman. It's Leon Bentvelsen in that number 26 car. Now, don't get me wrong, he's yet to make a pit stop. I do wonder, has he fuel saved enough that he can get away from a pit stop? Don't get me wrong, I don't think they're legally allowed to skip the pits, but if they do, fair play. I'd love to see how that goes down. Certainly, we've seen it in other leagues where drivers have fuel saved. This is where the rules really come into play, ladies and gentlemen. If you can indeed gently sip, I'm thinking more of a tea than a shot, I guess, in this case. Really making a colourful broadcast today, ladies and gentlemen. You're learning all of my bad habits here, as Bentvelsen indeed has some good habits. He's currently resting at the top of the order. You see 6.7 seconds to Lockwood behind. Are we going to see Bentvelsen make the pit? He has indeed got to lead a good portion of this lap. Is this going to be the time we're going to see him come in? And yes, ladies and gentlemen, indeed it is. Pushing quite hard there. You see almost touching that tyre barrier on the way in. Gets the car slowed down as he makes his way into the pit safety zone.
All right, so pit speed limit is 60 k's an hour. Brian Lockwood's going to follow him in. I'd expect Haggerty and Lanassa to come in as well, unless they've managed to fuel save a crazy amount. Vijay Rajasekaran has nailed the outlap there. He's going to come back out into the lead of the race. Can Bentvelsen keep 2nd place, though? It's a long stop from Bentvelsen, 8.5 seconds. That is not the kind of pace that we should have seen in the box there.
It's certainly that indeed. Oh, really loose there from Mahid Rahman. He's obviously keen to get a piece of Bentvelsen, and it's fair to say that's definitely going to be a brown flag moment there in turn 1. I think he's managed to get it back together, but, you know, I'd like to say cold tyres, but now he's been out for a couple of laps. He's already done his pit stop. Very aggressive on the exit there of Rouge. Certainly one of the very, very challenging corners, if not the most challenging corner, and you can see there a 1.3 second gap, and it's closing. I believe that Bentvelsen is indeed giving a very, very slight draft to Rahman, but if Rahman is able to get just close enough, get into about a 1 second gap, Bentvelsen could indeed find himself getting challenged here for 2nd place.
Yeah, oh no. Oh yeah, have you seen what I've seen on the timing screen for Declan Marsden?
Yes. Nope, I'm thinking of Cairo ends.
Okay, side by side into a Rouge. Yep, that's what happens when it goes wrong.
Definitely unfortunate there for the 3-3-2 driver. I wouldn't mind seeing that again, actually, from a driver's point of view, if we could there, Rob. Certainly, yeah. It is indeed incredibly scary going through there side by side. And fair play to him. You know, it's one of those higher risk, high reward strategies. And honestly, I think if I was Ends, I would have backed out of that and just gone into the slipstream after. There was a bit of space left. We saw from the overall cam that there was a little bit in netcode there, and it's fair to say that Ends really suffered through that. The opponent able to get away scot-free.
Yeah, the problem is if you're on the inside coming into Eau Rouge, it ends up being the outside for Radion, the right-hander going up the hill, and you want to turn in so that you don't miss the apex curve at the top of the hill. But I think Ends' problem was he just turned in a bit too early, and there wasn't really much that the other car could do in that situation. So that's going to be much of a muchness in the end. Cairo Ends, after a great run in this race, has to settle for at least 17th as Branton Hung gets the move done on Sean Haggerty, and Anthony Lanasser is looking to pounce as well.
Certainly a little bit of curb there being taken, and I've got to say as well, keeping an eye just on the timing side between Ben Belson and Rahman has indeed managed to make his way into that draft now. The gaps come down to 8/10 of a second as we see Lanasser trying to make a move up past his teammate Sean Haggerty, takes it on the inside. Honestly, that almost looked like a gimme there as Haggerty dropped right back, and then it looks like Garrett Lund's going to be going side by side. Now we saw what happened when Cairo Ends tried to go side by side through Hill Rouge just a moment ago. This time it's going to be Haggerty on the inside, and Lund backs out of that. I say that, not quite, as they do indeed make it through side by side, and you can see the whole time Lanasser pulling away. He's going to be within the drafting range now. It's going to be about to see who can get behind Lanasser, and it looks like it's going to be Haggerty in this case. As you can see there, pulling in, but Lund able to make that position stick.
I'm surprised that Lanasser didn't, the black card didn't get back into the slipstream sooner, because he could have gotten the boost and gotten alongside again, but probably deciding that he wanted to wait a bit to make sure he got the move done cleanly and clearly. Rahman, meanwhile, is catching up to Benfelsen, who, remember, had that uncharacteristically long pit stop. It seems Lockwood also had a pretty long stop as well at 11.3 seconds. So I think that Benfelsen might have put a bit too much fuel in the car. That's the only explanation that I have. The car didn't go up on the jacks, so he didn't take tyres, and there's really no reason to take tyres in the F3 in a 40-minute race. The tyres will easily last that distance, I believe. So yeah, Benfelsen dealing with a heavier car than everyone else around him, and Rahman will be catching him at a rate of knots.
Yeah, certainly Rahman is indeed. Oops, sorry, go ahead, Reese.
White flag. It looks like white flag this time by for Vijay Rajasekaran, is all I was going to say.
Yeah, certainly it's good to see Barney has indeed decided to attend this race at half the time where he has indeed been on strike, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly he's about as reliable as the public transit system here that we've seen in certain places in Canada. As Ben Belson will be, honestly, he doesn't want to see a white flag. He wants to see a checkered, especially if the order can stay where it is now. Mahid Rahman right behind. The gaps close down even more as we're going it down through turn one. Both of these drivers are absolutely pushing the limit there. And you can see right there in the background, Michael Pritchuk, he's been very potent today. I've been damn proud of his driving today in that number 13 car. If these guys start coming to tangle, he could indeed find himself challenging for the podium.
Yeah, certainly could. All it takes is a few corners being run side by side between Benfelsen and Rahman, and Pritchuk will be within a second or two. Rahman in the slipstream, Benfelsen goes middle, and Rahman calls his bluff, gets up the inside, and gets the move done for second.
Well, it's almost like a game of hot potato, ladies and gentlemen, or indeed musical chairs. And the problem is the musical chair is indeed P2, and Marco Pritchuk might find himself wanting to take a place on that seat as well. As Benfelsen, he's been potent, he's been clean. Can he keep it going? Certainly, Mahid Rahman has indeed won the championship before. That's going to use, I think, in split 2, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But can Benfelsen, can he fight back? You already see Mahid Rahman pulled away about 3/10 of a second now. He did have that longer pit stop, did Benfelsen. Is it going to be enough to slow him down on pace? The competition really is that tight, ladies and gentlemen. As you see there, he's going to be absolutely scuppered if he loses the draft.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's still far enough ahead of Pritchuk that he should still be safe for the rest of the lap. But with Rahman's pace and Benfelsen obviously having a bit more fuel in the car than he needed, it's going to be difficult to maintain the momentum through the turns. Branton Hung, meanwhile, on the back of Matthias Kuhn, 17 positions gained for Branton. If he finishes exactly where he is, it'll still be a great drive, but he'd love to make it 18 up instead of 17. But up the front of the field, Vijay Rajasekaran out of the final corner, going to take both races here today. An absolutely dominant performance from the number 12. And Mahid Rahman, a well-earned second place. Put your hands together as well for Leon Benfelsen, who gets a podium in both races tonight. Fantastic stuff. Mikhail Prechuk up to 4th. Brilliant job. Brenton Hung passing Matthias Kuhn there for 6th right at the end.
Some fantastic battling going on indeed, and they've got to say fair play to him. Certainly Andrew Moran, I think, would have been pretty potent around here. He's absent today. What's happening in the back there? Is that Sammy Hendricks out of fuel, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see if we can get him. He is indeed. He's trying to lift that car. That's one.
Oh, no.
Just one. Thankfully, he got away with that for the most part. Maybe a little bit too frugal on the go-go juice, ladies and gentlemen, as Martin Visser makes his way across the line. Cairo ends as well. Definitely unfortunate for him, that incident in Rouge, as we're now seeing Andrew Calabrese now making his way towards the checkered flag.
Yes, Hendricks had one of the quicker pit stops there at only 4 seconds in length, and well, looks like that wasn't enough fuel to get to the end. Vijay Rajasekaran, meanwhile, I mean, I have no idea how he could take only 4 seconds worth of fuel and still come away with the win by 13.5 seconds. What a margin that is. But from the grandstands, here comes Simon Collier, one of the last finishers on the lead lap here today. And Andrew Calabrese, it looks like, is going to be one of the very last, and he's going to finish it up with a little pirouette.
Well, I can tell you as well, ladies and gentlemen, that indeed Joel Singleton has cleared his black flag as Calabrese. I gotta be honest, we've had some good racing action, but for me, that takes it. Calabrese there. What he lacked in talent today, he made up for in style.
That's a long ratio on reverse gear in this car. I didn't realize it could get up to that level of clip.
I can say, Reese, I did actually set a lap time in, I think it was a Formula V, going in reverse around Motorsport once. It was measured in hours, ladies and gentlemen, but a good laugh nonetheless. It might have even been the F1600, but here is your results for the second one of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, the final one of the day. Vijay Rajasekaran, fantastic stuff today. Absolutely on point. 2 wins, ladies and gentlemen. Takes P1. Mahid Rahman able to get that edge over Bent Belsom just at the end with 2nd and 3rd there. Michael Prechuk, honestly, so potent today. He's there in 4th with Brian Lockwood in 5th. Brandon Hung, the hardest charger in that last race, excluding the coaches, ladies and gentlemen. He takes P6. A lot of great success stories here today, Reese. Matthias Kuhn takes 7th with Anthony Nasser in 8th. Garrett Lund in 9th. And Declan Marsden closing out your top 10.
Yep, Haggerty in 11th place ahead of Nieminen, the first car to take a scheduled pit stop today. Marco Chacon could have been a bit better for him. I think he would have been a top 10 if he hadn't gotten that drive through for jumping the start. Jeremy Childers and Juan San Miguel round out your top 15, with Sammy Hendricks limping with no fuel in P16. Adrian Visser and Enns, as well as Collier, rounding out your top 20. Andrew Calabrese, he reached 135 kilometers per hour in reverse across the start-finish line. That's crazy stuff there. He does finish the race ahead of our retirees, Jan Janchik, Fernando Afonso, Joel Singleton, Amin Al-Shahi, and Kane Halliburton. Was the first out in the end. So it's going to bring things to our interviews, and it looks like, Zippy, you had a chance to catch up with Leon Benfelsen.
Indeed, Leon, always a pleasure to have you here in the booth, and certainly 2 podiums today. You got a lot to be happy about. Certainly was watching that battle towards the end, but let's talk a little bit about that pass, that absolute slingshot maneuver you made in that first race, making it past multiple opponents in one hit. Tell us how you felt making that kind of move.
Hey, hi guys. Yeah, thanks for having me again. Great to be here. Yeah, that pass, it was, yeah, how will I say? Pretty sweet. But I couldn't get too much into it, you know, because I need to keep the focus. But
yeah, certainly you did. You did indeed have some good battles today. It looked like Mahid Rahman able to get a better view at the end. Now, taking a quick look at your pit time, it does appear that you maybe took a little bit of an extra splash there, or was it maybe just you know, having a little bit of a refresh, grabbing a cup of coffee, or indeed something a little bit more refreshing there? I think that may have been your undoing. But did you find it was a little bit of a disadvantage after the pit stops during the endurance race?
yeah, absolutely. My fuel guy wanted to fill it up until the last drop. So he did, and that made me a bit overweight, and yeah, I couldn't keep my weight behind.
Well,
that's
fair
it.
play to him.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely.
he was definitely keen. We'll give them that. I think I'd rather have too much fuel than not enough fuel. Certainly, Sammy Hendricks and you could have a good discussion about that there. But I got to say,
Uh-oh.
Leon, absolutely fair play to you. It was a great race indeed. Certainly, Spa looked like it really did deliver. And again, you had a huge cheerleading section here today. I've lost count actually of how many people are here, and we did actually. I've set them a challenge as well. I've challenged them to make like literally a cheering Leon sign. I'm going to see if we can feature it on the next broadcast. I can make that happen for you. It certainly would be a good laugh indeed. Get that lion going, and you guys can put all the emojis that I still can't remember and understand up there as well. And then everybody who's younger than me will probably understand it, except Reese. He's 90 years old, bless him. But Leon, I got to say, fair play to you. Great race. Anybody you'd like to shout out for today's performance?
Well, yeah. Everybody, especially the fan base, again cheering me on. Yeah, just great, guys. Really excited for the next race. And, see you guys in the next one.
Well, that indeed is a very valid point. And if I remember rightly, we are heading to Fuji for the next round. Does that sound right, Reese?
I think that's another couple of rounds away. I think Sebring is the next round. Yes. So yeah, the drivers are going to be dealing with an awful lot of bumps at the next round of the championship, and a bit low grip on the concrete, I'd wager as well.
Yeah, certainly. Leon, what do you reckon about Sebring? Let's get your thoughts on that. Is it on your Princess approved track list?
Absolutely. But with the F3, I'm not quite sure how that's going to pan out.
Well, we are indeed going to wish you the best of luck. Ladies and gentlemen, it certainly seems to be the crowd favorite here, the Dutch driver, the one and only, the driver of the number 26 car, the Formula 3 machine. It is the one and only Mr. Leon Bentvelsen, ladies and gentlemen. 2 podiums today here in the Almeida Racing League.
Thanks, guys. Great job. Bye-bye.
Yeah, great job from Leon Bentvelsen there, and it looks like he's all we're going to be able to talk to today.
Yeah, I got to admit, it's interesting as well. I find some leagues we have half the grid wants to get interviewed, and then we have others where nobody shows up. Guys, while we generally do try to interview the podium, we generally will interview anybody. You know, as long as you guys can have a good chat with us, by all means, come on in. All we can do is say yes or no, and we'd love to see you in there. But certainly, I think that's going to bring this show to an end, ladies and gentlemen. I got to say, that's probably been the most fun I've had for the Almeida Racing League so far. That was an absolute belter, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to say, Bentvelsen, I'm loving that move. I related to it on so many levels, and certainly the racing here was absolutely potent, especially during that 15-minute race as well. Multiple battles happened all over the field, ladies and gentlemen. But that is indeed going to bring this show to a close. You're going to have to wait till next week. You're going to see us at Sebring, ladies and gentlemen, not Fuji, Sebring. Certainly myself, the memory of a goldfish that's been flushed down the toilet on multiple occasions. Great job of keeping my composure there. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning. If you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button, by all means, on the on Swellio's channel and indeed on Pit Road Productions. And if you'd like to take part in this league, you do indeed have to be part of the Almeida Racing Academy. By all means, check out the links. I know Swellio's got the links on his channel over there. Check that out. But that's about all from us here. My name is Daniel Zippy Sound, and joining me in the booth today is Reese, the Southpaw Racer Gardener. Definitely check him out on Twitch. I think it's Southpaw Racer. And indeed, Rob the Goatee Campbell as well, doing a beautiful job on the production controls. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.